Today I'm going to be making turkey meatloaf. The ingredients that I'll be using today are 2 pounds of lean ground turkey, 2 cans of unsalted diced tomatoes, 1 can of unsalted tomato paste, 2 large eggs, and a half a cup of milled ground flaxseed. And also I'm going to be using 6 Vidalia onion. I've already started cutting the onion up, as you can see. And the spices I'll be using today are ground pepper, sea salt, ground mustard, garlic powder, and crushed pepper. And so the first thing that I've been doing is I've been slicing the onions. And I'll be placing the onions into the bowl that I have beside of me. And this is going to take 2 or 3 minutes to finish cutting the onions up. And I'm getting ready to, again, put them in the bowl. As you can see, I've already cut the onions up, and I'm going to slide them into my bowl. The next step is I'm getting ready to open up 2 pounds of ground turkey, and I'm going to be putting that in my bowl. And again, this is ground lean turkey, and everything that I cook, such as meatloaf or Italian meatballs, I always use ground turkey because it's a lot healthier for you, as opposed to eating the ground beef. And again, a lot of the recipes that you'll find on my YouTube channel are recipes that have been passed down from my grandmother onto me, and I've just decided to make them a little bit healthier. The next step is I've got 2 large eggs, and I'm going to be placing the eggs in the bowl with the 2 pounds of ground turkey and the Vidalia onions that I've already chopped. So I'm moving along, and I've got 2 cans of drained, unsalted, cut tomatoes. And we like a lot of tomatoes in our meatloaf. And I'm also going to add 1 small can of unsalted tomato paste. And last, for the main ingredients, I'm going to be putting in ground milled flaxseed. So I've got all of my main ingredients in. Now I'm just adding spices. First, I'm grounding up the pepper. And again, all the spices that I use are just to taste. So it's whatever your preference is and how much. I'm approximately putting a 1/4 of a teaspoon of sea salt in. And again, we love garlic at my house. And so I'm going to approximately put 1 tablespoon of garlic in. So we love garlic. And then I'm going to put approximately a 1/4 of a teaspoon to maybe a 1/2 teaspoon of dry mustard. And then I'm placing celery seed. And again, this is probably maybe a 1/4 of a teaspoon. And last will be a few crushed peppers, just to give it some heat. The next step in making the meatloaf is I have already sprayed 2 loaf pans with olive oil. And I'm going to mix the ground turkey up with the ingredients, and I'm just folding them together. And since I have 2 pounds of ground turkey, I'll be splitting each loaf pan, and I'm going to put approximately 1 pound of meat in each loaf pan. And then I'm going to be placing it in the oven for around 1 hour and 15 minutes at 400. So as you can see, I'm folding the meat over, and I'm making sure that all of the dry ingredients are mixed. And we are making turkey meatloaf. And again, I substituted ground flaxseed, milled flaxseed for breadcrumbs, and just makes it a little bit healthier than using the breadcrumbs. And also I've used turkey instead of ground beef. So again, I was saying earlier that all of the recipes that I'm recreating are from my grandmother and my mother and my great-grandmother also. We have 4 generations of women that have taught me how to cook. And the majority of the cooking that I do comes from my grandmother, and she was from Appalachia also. All the women in my family were from the tri-state area. So now the meatloaf is mixed. As you can see, I'm quickly folding it over, and I keep pushing it down. And so now what I'm getting ready to do is I'm going to separate the meatloaf, and this can be a little bit messy. I just make sure I have my rings off, and I'm placing it into the meatloaf pan, and I'm just going to evenly divide the meat. And once I get the meat in the pan, you can either use tomato paste for the top of the meatloaf as a glaze, or some people... Okay, the last step in making the turkey meatloaf is I have the 2 pans of meatloaf, and I've divided 1 pound each, and I've got unsalted tomato paste because I wanted you to see the difference between the tomato paste that I'm placing on the top of the first meatloaf. It's just got a really thick, nice red appearance to it, and I'm just gently smoothing it onto the top, and that'll be the glaze to the first meatloaf. And then the tri-state area loves to put ketchup on the top, so I'm just moving side to side and squeezing gently on the ketchup bottle. So you can see the difference. We've got a thick tomato paste on the first meatloaf, and on the second meatloaf we have ketchup. So now what I'm getting ready to do is stick the meatloaf into the oven. It's preheated at 400, and I'm going to slip that into the oven and let it cook for 1 hour and 15 minutes. And I'll check to make sure that the meat is cooked to 165 degrees in the middle, and you can use a meat thermometer for this. So I shall bring it out, and I'll let you see the results after it's done, and I'll place it on a platter for you. I hope you enjoy. I've just pulled the turkey meatloaf out of the oven, and I'm getting ready to transfer it to a plate so you can see what the inside of the meatloaf actually looks like on a plate. I've just taken the turkey meatloaf out of the loaf pans, and you can see that I've got it on my charger plate, and we're getting ready to eat dinner. So I hope you enjoy.